It's surprisingly easy to liquidate your life when your job has been from home for the last 6 years, and on top of that, you've spent the last 8 months attempting as best as you can to not leave your home. I guess from the outside, this may look like evidence for me having a breakdown, but really, should I find myself financially screwed over halfway across the country, well, the world runs on technology, and that's my gig. I'll get to the details of my road trip soon, but having nothing to do but talk about my possible paranormal past for a solid day has dragged up a few more memories on my part. The same kind of infuriating question-easing reveals I've got used to, but new stuff nonetheless. The first is how and when I stopped going, egging out, if you will. My new friend Steven, in case you were wondering, seems keen on my answer to this question. The more I think about it, the less it makes sense. My memories in general of Plae Place are as clear as the mirror in a gas station bathroom, but the more I try to pin down when I stopped going, the more I find that my memories get less clear as I get older. Toward the end, I could never have been more than 10 or 12, and the memories just develop into almost clips and still frames. The most I can remember is a vague age, after which I don't remember going and starting to notice and mention some of the more glaringly obvious strange events to the staff. Steve told me that was pretty common. While he didn't share his own story, he said each kid seems to have a limit as to how much weird they can accept. After this, the Plae Place seems to have no more use for them. When I asked why, he had no idea, a pattern that frequently repeated itself in our conversations. The second memory Steve helped me pry loose was some more information about the food. They fed us, and in decent enough quantity, but I remember there being certain items that they would avoid eating at all costs. Nothing outwardly horrible or intimidating, just certain items we knew to bury in the trash or hide in our pockets till we went home. There, of course, were plenty of little bits and pieces of information I confirmed with Steve on the first day of our road trip, but I'm sure you guys don't want to read a grocery list of random paranormal air-8, and besides, in all honesty, the most interesting stuff is what is brewing up in the present day. "So, you a Jew?" Steve says after a long stretch of silence. "Excuse me," I say, shocked out of my highway trance. "Easy, kid, I didn't say, don't tell me you ain't a Jew. I'm not some redneck, just figured with a name like yours, I was in Old Testament company. Just trying to make conversation. That isn't horrifying," Steve says casually, a way to almost succeed. "And I am Jewish, heavy on the ish. Not really a religious guy," I responded. "See, we have something else in common. Never really came to a conclusion on how God and crap like what we went through could fit in one world," Steve says. "So where are we going?" I asked, trying to keep the conversation going. "Well, first, we need to get some information, the kind you can't just find in the yellow pages. Then we need to get ourselves set up with some hardware. I don't know how dangerous things are going to get, how quickly, but better to be prepared. You ever shot a gun?" Steve asks, in a tone that says he knows the answer. I don't think anyone has been finding anything in the yellow pages for the last decade, but no, never even been in the same room with one, I replied. "Well, it's easy enough to teach you. I'm not expecting to turn you into a sharpshooter. but you need to know a couple things about the guy we are going to see first. Steve lights up a cigarette and makes a point of not rolling down the window. Like what, I say, trying not to sound as apprehensive as I feel. First off, he's a serial killer, and not some gray hat anti-hero. He's a sick bastard. Not anyone I talk to normally, but he's the only person I've ever heard of that has any kind of connections to the spookiest side of life. He's who we used last time, and it's a long story, but he owes me and my guys a permanent debt. Now you, on the other hand, watch out. Not to be cold, but if he tries something, I can't step in. Beyond the fact the guy scares me more than the Plae Place, honestly, I can't let one guy's life screw over this project. He calls himself Stranger, and don't laugh. Don't be snarky. Treat the guy like a pipe bomb you found in your car, because trust me, he can go off for any reason. He is the perfect example of one of my favorite pieces of advice. The dumber a guy's nickname, the scarier he is. Steve says this last part in a dead serious tone. We spent the rest of the day riding out, swapping small talk. Turns out Steve is legitimate ex-military. Unfortunately, he was in communications. The special force vibe he gave off was just a combination of bravado and synchronism. But still, I'm happy he knows his way around a gun better than I do. We drive out to a disused quarry littered with old refrigerators, televisions, and whatever other big junk people were too cheap to take to a legitimate dump. We drive through a thinning maze of rocks and garbage that I begin to realize has been carefully arranged. By the time we reach the rusted black Astro van, I realize we have no quick means of escape. If we want to get out, it's going to be a slow, careful reverse maze. I'm nervous, and the looming piles of trash combined with barely enough space to get out of the car does nothing to help that. It's imposing and claustrophobic and pervaded by a dull, rank, organic reek. The van's back doors face us. Dozen, if not hundreds, of peeling bumper stickers cover every available surface. We carefully step over the metal spars and deters, making our way to the van. Steve makes to knock, but the door flies open, knocking me to the ground. Before I can get my bearings, I see the barrel of a pistol inches away from my face, and feel the weight of a slightly underweight adult on top of me. I thought the garbage smell was bad, but the unwashed fungal reek coming from this guy makes it smell like lavender in springtime. His hair is shoulder length, clumped together in twisted ropes, with various pieces of God knows what stuck to it. His teeth are stained a deep purple, and his breath smells of forgotten garbage with heavy note of spoiled medication. His wild, bloodshot eyes seem to dart everywhere as he addresses me, pressing the greasy gun barrel against my face occasionally. The man's body temperature seems to be about twice what it should be, and I can feel his sweat dampening my shirt. Who the hell is this Spud coming to my home? You a spy, little Spud? You here to take my shit? You a cop, Spud? The man says with a cloud of anxious vapor. Stranger, we talked about this. He's clearly a friend of mine. Let him up, Steve calmly states. How do I know he doesn't have something on you? Or you didn't vet him? Nah, probably just best to cook this Spud now, and we can talk. Stranger cocks the hammer of the pistol. It squeezes and sounds like it has sand in its mechanisms. I wonder if it'll misfire, but do nothing else to remove myself from the situation. Come on, buddy. I don't have much time. You know I wouldn't bring him if I didn't vet him. Steve's tone remains calm, but he is shifting a bit nervously. Okay, maybe it's just been a while and I want to see some brains on the cement. I don't have to justify myself. He told you you were not safe here, right, Spud? Stranger smacks the gun barrel against my forehead, punctuating his sentence. He did, but he also kinda made it seem like I had to fuck up to get killed. I blurted out and immediately regretted it. There is silence. Stranger puts his face a few inches from mine. His breathing gets quick and ragged. I can feel his steel cable muscles vibrating. His mouth is half open, bubbles of purple-tinted spit bursting. He puts one hand on my neck, and while still keeping his face inches from mine, grinds the gun into my temple. Black spots start to creep into my vision, just as I make peace with the fact I'm going to spend my last moments smelling the dumpster stench of this guy. He springs backwards, drawing a crusty flannel sleeve across his mouth, then letting out a tittering laugh. Good one, Spud. You're alright. Stranger offers me a hand. I take it and get to my feet. The van is filled with a lone-stained mattress. What looks to be years of garbage, and every other space is devoted to monitors, laptops, and keyboards. You make things so difficult, man, Steve says with a head shake. If I didn't like difficult, you wouldn't have any use for me, though, Stranger says, hopping into his van and taking a seat on his filthy mattress. Have a seat, he finishes, motioning to no place in particular. I follow Steve's lead and sit on what I thought was a fairly clean milk crate. I try and not think about what the liquid soaking through the seat of my pants is. What did you need? Stranger asked Steve, bringing a yellowing laptop out from a pile of fast food cups. Well, same as last time, pretty much. Going to need you to find me a way in. Talk to some of your Halloween-themed friends to make sure the door is open, and hook me up with enough IRA toys to get the job done. Got 2 out of 3 of the old crew, and a handful of bully boys for manpower, Steve lists. Not a problem, never is. I'll save you a little money on the toys, though. Jimmy is actually doing business out of an old farm a town over. I'll give him a heads up you're coming. Save you my finder's fee on that least. Speaking of what are you planning on paying for all of this? Stranger rifles through a few boxes and begins eating a half-finished burger, gesturing towards Steve with it as he speaks. Got 10K I can get you, rest is going to have to be a favor. I didn't have much time to plan for this, Steve says, somewhat nervous. It's a pretty big favor, man. I have a counter-offer, though. You keep your 10 large, but this time you bring me back a little something, preferably something alive, but I'll settle for less. A few of my Halloween-themed friends would pay top dollar for that. Stranger grins, his teeth so riddled with cavities they look like purple dice. Steve looks reluctant. Fine, just promise me it gets to someone who wants to put it up on a mantle or something. I don't want to be doing this again when I'm 50. Sure, I'll get on it. Probably going to be a couple of days, so you and your little friend go find something to do, and take a shower or something, you fucking reek. Now get out of my house before I never get the smell out, Stranger says, impatiently, motioning us to leave. It takes an hour and a half to back out of the quarry. Even then, the car came out with a handful of foot-long scratches. Night falls as we drive to an out-of-the-way motel. So he was a character. How the hell did you meet him? I say a couple hours in. Spent a lot of money and did a few things I regret. But he's the only person I've met that has been even half telling the truth when they say they can talk to the things that go bump in the night. And unfortunately, our door can't be opened by any locksmith we are going to find. He's a piece of human garbage, and I'd put a bullet in his skull if I had another option. But we are going to be doing a lot of shit outside our wheelhouse. I hope you are okay with that. Steve's tone suggests he doesn't really care if I'm not. Okay is pretty relative in this situation, but yeah, I guess I say. About an hour later, we're checking into a hotel. As we get comfortable, Steve puts together an old reel-to-reel projector, pulling an old film reel out of his steel case. Feel like more confusion, kid? Got more home movies, he says as he finishes. He opens a minibar and pours 2 water glasses full of whiskey from a small mountain of tiny bottles. Sorry, man, I gave up getting messed up a while ago. You go nuts, though, I say, eyeing the booze, just a little longing. This isn't recreational, kid. This is part of the job, Steve says cryptically. He takes the thumbtack from the plywood desk and sets up 2 chairs facing one wall, seeming to fuss over their angles for a while. He sits in the left one, motioning for me to sit in the right. He hands me the full glass of booze and begins to speak. So first thing you are going to do is prick your finger. Tell me when it stops bleeding and we can start the film. You keep sipping on that booze the entire time. If it runs out, you fill it. It starts to taste sour and wrong, like earwax and pen ink. You get the hell out of the room for a couple hours. I don't care about your 12 steps. If you can't do what needs to be done, go back to fixing laptops. And if you notice where you stuck yourself starts bleeding again, stay calm and tell me. I'd tell you the remedy, but trust me, it's better if we cross that bridge when we come to it. I notice my natural instinct to laugh at the absurdity has went away, probably right about the time Pigpen stuck a gun in my face. I nodded and stabbed a finger, waiting till the blood stops forming a deep red bead before telling Steve to begin. The projector fires up, projecting a grainy, artifact-filmed image onto the wall. It's old footage, 40s or 50s by my guess, and soundless, but it feels close to real. I remembered the stinging yet comforting taste of booze as I take my first sip. The image on the wall, panning around a fairly standard children's activity room. My mind starts to work and I realize that I've seen this room before, only when I saw it, it was a coat check in the short-lived bowling alley at the Plae Place. There is a half-dozen tables and about 40 kids sitting at them. There are an assortment of games and toys in front of them. They all seem happy to be there. Watching over them are 2 people I recognize instantly. One a woman in her 30s with blonde bob haircut, and another younger dark skinny man with a dark slicked back hair. 2 of the adults running Plae Place during my time there, but now they looked friendlier, less harsh, engaging with the children, genuinely nice. For a second, the image rips, and we see a room full of children in beds, various holes and wires hooked to them. They are all sleeping, and there is something walking down the rows of the beds. I have no time to get a good look before the image shifts back, but I feel a chill run through my body. I notice my glass is a quarter empty, though I cannot remember drinking anywhere near that much, nor am I feeling as wasted as that much liquor in 3 minutes should have made me. I noticed a third person in the room when I see it again. At least I assumed it is a person. I could never quite see its features, just a gray suit and two black pits for eyes. The other people in the film don't seem to notice it at all, but I nearly drop my glass as it starts to walk towards the camera, waving and beckoning Steve and I into the image. Something behind us rattles slightly. Don't worry about him, he can't hurt us. Just rattle our cages a bit. Probably why he's so pissed off, Steve says before taking a long drink. The thing on the screen walks out of the shot as I hear more noises around the room. It takes everything in me not to turn around as I feel hot breath moving my hair. Here is the important part, Steve says, ignoring the sounds. The camera pans to a door, and four men in lab coats enter with two large boxes. They have air slots and a heavy lock. One of each pair unlocks the top of the box, as the other pulls out something and places a few on each table. At first, I can't make exactly what the small hand-sized objects are. The burn marks and film grain masking their exact shape and detail. The camera goes out of focus as it zooms in on one of the objects. At first I assume it's an action figure, but as the image clears, I notice whatever it is breathing. I can't tell much as the distortions start to get more intense, but the thing is small, vaguely humanoid, and as the shot abruptly switches to show all the children and adults moving about, the children seem overjoyed, talking, laughing, and playing with the little creatures. I keep trying to get a better look at the things, but they always seem to be obscured by some level of static and distortion. The adults, both lab coats and the ones I remember, are taking notes and looking impressed. This goes on for what feels like 15 minutes after I nearly fall off the chair when the reel runs out with a harsh snapping noise. I look to my glass, which is completely empty, and then to the clock, 5 a.m., over 8 hours later than we started. My mind reels, as I am sure it could only have been an hour or so. What the hell were those things, I asked Steve. That's the question, isn't it? I don't know for sure, but I do know that was footage of day one of Plae Place being open. We can go over some theories tomorrow, but I want to show this to you to underline a point. No matter how much we think we know what's going on with this place, we know little. We are not here to understand this thing. All we need to do is figure enough out to find where it keeps its head and put a bullet in it, Steve says with a determined smirk. Hey guys, thank you for listening to today's Creepypasta, and I hope you enjoyed. I do have a podcast called The Murder House Radio Show. Check it out. The link will be in the description below. It is a true crime podcast. But if you did like, comment, subscribe, and share for more. Hit the bell notification when you subscribe and select all to get all notifications whenever I upload. I upload 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, at least one video a day. Now, all the long episodes in the full series of creepypastas are on all the major podcasting platforms under the name Deadly Zone Narrations, Deadly_Zone_Narrations, or search Devin Clarke, DevinClarke. There will also be a link for it in the description. Also, go follow all the social media accounts that are in the description below. I do have a subreddit called Deadly Narrations. The link will be in the description. Also in the description below are the sources to today's creepypasta and the music used, so go check those out. Let me know what creepypasta you would like to hear next, or if you have your own creepypasta you would like me to narrate, or if you have a creepypasta series you would like to hear. Send them to me on any of the social medias in the DMs, or to my email address, which is also in the description, or leave them in the comments below. Also in the description below is the author's social medias, if they have any listed. But that's it for today's creepypasta. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time in the Deadly Zone, stay deadly, and stay spooky.